Hey guys, Gundam Russ back once again. Well, welcome back to another video. Well, for this week guys, for the topic, I'm going to be talking about have you sold your video game collection? Now, I hope that the thumbnail got a few of you guys like going, oh my god, what the hell has Gundam Russ done? Is he gone crazy? No, I haven't gone crazy. You see the games behind me are still here. But I really wanted to talk to you guys about have you sold your collection? Yeah, I thought it would be a really good topic of discussion to find out from you guys whether you've sold your collection, whether you sold part of it or all of it, and how it made you feel as well. So with that being said, let's go check out a few of the collections that I've sold in my collection and how it made me feel. Now, there's been 3 times in my life where I have sold part of my video game collection, and I must admit to this very day I still have regrets on it. Now, the first time I sold part of my video game collection was back in the day of the Xbox 360. Now, I had a huge collection of Xbox 360 games, had about 200 plus games, and I was absolutely in love with the 360. I loved all the exclusive titles I had, like Project Gotham Racing, Halo, Gears of War. The list goes on, and I really enjoyed playing it. And I loved Xbox Live. It was, very sound. It'd be very rare that you'd get, booted off of games. It was just a really sound community on there, and I enjoyed the, getting achievements, and I just loved the way the Xbox 360 was set out. I'd also had a PS3, and I had a very small library of games at this time. And I just wasn't really feeling the PS3. It was around near the, close to the launch, and there wasn't a lot of titles out for it. But I came across a game called Resistance: Fall of Man. Now, for those who don't know, it's a first-person shooter title, and I absolutely love it, and I wish they would come back and make the new titles, but don't see that happening. But yeah, I was really, getting involved with this game. I was, had played many hours, and I basically was, played it up to around at midnight one night. I was very tired, and I thought, I'm going to give it a rest, and I'll get up tomorrow morning and give it a go. So I went to bed, slept, and got up, and I was like, oh man, I've got to get back into Resistance. I made myself my coffee. I absolutely love my coffee and addicted to it. And I was like, all right, I'm ready to go. Let's get into it. And then all of a sudden, the PS3 has the yellow light of death, and I'm like, oh no, I've heard about this. It can't be. And I unplugged the power plug, and I pop it back in, and pressing the button again, it's flashing yellow again. And I tried everything I could think of. I spent time on forums looking up, and basically everyone was like, nah, it's dead, it's had it. You could probably get it repaired. And I was like, oh man. So stupidly, instead of going and paying a small amount of money to get it repaired, or just waiting and then buying a PS3 later on down the track and just enjoying the 360, I was like, I've got to play Resistance. I have to finish it. And I kept saying to myself, look, you don't really need it. And then I was like, no, I need a PS3. So what did I do? I sold all my 360 titles and my 360 as well. And I basically sold it all for around about, I think it was $500 or $600, and which was ridiculous really, because the console still 360 brand new was still like $250 at the time, and the games would be worth so much more. I can't even imagine the amount of money I spent on these games over the years. And yeah, I guess to this day, I went out and picked up a new PS3, and I enjoyed it. And I finished playing Resistance, and I enjoyed finishing it, and it was great. But once I finished Resistance, I just had this horrible feeling come across me, and I was like, man, I really shouldn't have done that. I really shouldn't have sold my 360 collection. And to this day, I still have regrets about it. Obviously, I don't get really emotional about it, but I still feel, at times it's like, man, I really want to play this certain title, and I don't have it in my collection. So yeah, over time, I've picked up the 360 games that I used to have on 360, and I'm slowly building it up. I think I've got around about 15 360 titles, and there's a heap more I want to get. Obviously, my focus with collecting is PS3, but eventually I do want to pick up these 360 titles and add them back. So that's the first time I had regrets with selling part of my video game collection. The second time I sold my video game collection was basically when I had some money issues. Without going into too much detail, I basically had an ex-girlfriend that had no concept with money whatsoever. Had a Wii console, and it was pretty cool. It was modded, and it had a lot of the N64 titles on there. Even had some GameCube titles on there. It was just really cool. I had a nice little stack of collection of actual physical titles. Had around about 20 Wii titles, but I just loved being able to play the old retro games on the modded console. And yeah, basically at this time with the money issues, I was finding it hard at times to even afford to buy food. And it's nowadays I'm fine, and I've always been good with money, but at this time it was basically I'd be getting to the weekends and I would be like, what am I gonna have to eat? And I basically at the time was just living on 2 minute noodles, and to this day I cannot stand 2 minute noodles. Even when I see someone at work eating 2 minute noodles, I'm like, 2 minute noodles, stay away from me. I've had enough of you. It was just a horrible time in my life, and basically, one week came along and I didn't have any money, and I was just too embarrassed to even ask my family for help or even ask my close friends for help. So yeah, I had this Wii console, and a guy at work was willing to buy it, but I ended up selling this Wii console. I kid you not, with all these games for $50, just for a quick sale, just to get some food, and that basically got me through for another week of 2 minute noodles and a few other little bits and pieces. But yeah, it was a tough time, and I do regret selling that Wii console. Wish I had sold something else instead. Yeah, I just had some really great games in there, and I just miss being able to play Super Smash Brothers and Mario Kart and that sort of thing. And eventually I am going to go back out and pick them up again, but at the moment I have been slowly picking up Wii titles, but I actually don't own a Wii console anymore, which is kind of sad. So eventually one day I will. But yeah, that was a tough time again, as I said, and yeah, that was the second time I've sold a part of my collection. Now, the third collection that I sold, and I know Geek Tim is going to be shocked when he hears this, was my entire Sega Saturn collection, and I had some great titles in there. I had around about 80 games, and there was so many shoot 'em up games, and side scroller games as well, which are some of my favourite sort of games. I love that arcade style. And around this time that I had this console, and this was a pretty special one because it actually had the modification of, you had these little buttons that you could flick up and down, and you could either flick it up, I think it was either up or down, but you could flick it either up or down for being able to play imported games, so Japanese titles, or you could pop it back down and you could play American, and you could leave it in normal, and basically you could play Power Region games. So it was really, really cool, and I absolutely loved it to death. At the time when I had this console, the PlayStation Vita was fairly new, and I had seen all my friends playing it, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. It was basically like playing the PS3 on the go, and I was like, I really, really want one of these. And there was the new Uncharted had come out on the PlayStation Vita, and I was like, absolute massive fan of Uncharted. I was like, I really want to play this. I mean, I've got to get a PlayStation Vita. And, did some research, and I was like, oh, these things aren't cheap. And it was like, close to the price of a PS3. It was around the high 300 mark. And I was like, oh, I really don't have the money to do that. And I was talking to one of my good friends, and he had a PlayStation Vita and about 4 games, and he was like, oh, I'm actually looking for a Sega Saturn. And I was like, oh, do you want to do a trade, stupidly? And yeah, so we did the trade, and I got the PlayStation Vita, and he got my Sega Saturn, and for a while I was okay with it. I was like, man, it was a really cool handheld, this is the best, loving it. And it wasn't until a bit later on that I was watching a few pickup videos, and people were talking about some Sega Saturn games they had picked up, and seen some gameplays of Sega Saturn games, and just missing some of those classic shoot 'em ups. And I was like, man, I wish I hadn't gone and sold that collection. I wish I had kept it. But like the other systems, I'm slowly rebuilding the games I've lost. So yeah, it's just I don't think I'll ever sell a part of my collection again, unless I really, really badly need to. Fingers crossed, I'll never sell a collection again. That's my aim. So yeah, let me know down below, guys. What collections in your collection you've sold, or have you sold all your collection? I'd love to know. Hope you enjoyed this topic. I thought it would be a great topic of discussion. Always enjoy doing the topic videos and have many more planned. I've got probably about 20 written down, so I'm very excited to bring them to you. I love being in front of the camera and talking to you guys. It's just great stuff. Alright, as always, guys, leave me a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe, fools. See you later.